Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. This is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 7 o'clock. We're here in the room 21 on the second floor of Whitman Town Hall for a Finance Committee meeting. Everyone is in attendance except for Ralph Mitchell, and I'm sure we'll see him soon. Minutes. We have outstanding minutes from last week, which we do not have a draft copy of. Reserve fund stands at $35,000. Public forum, there is no one in attendance for anything not on the agenda. So on the new business tonight, we're going to be doing the fiscal 25 budget meetings. First of all, the DPW at 7:15, and then the water sewer department at 7:45. And then we'll cover our old business items. Town administrator won't be giving an update because there is a Board of Selectmen meeting tonight, so she's attending that. And then you see this is the last meeting of 2023. Our upcoming meetings begin again on January 2nd, 2024. Okay, so while we're waiting for the DPW, just a couple of updates on the questions that were thrown and the follow-up I was responsible for last week. So one of the questions was, what is the tentative timeline on the impact for taxpayers on the capital projects? So I met with Mary Beth and Kathleen tonight on my way in, and just try to get some kind of an idea. Well, there's a budget meeting tomorrow with the district at 3 o'clock to talk about that very thing. So, and it seems as though they were both in concurrence that nothing should be hitting the taxpayer until January of 2025. Mm-hmm. So that's a kind of a general answer to the question. More specifics to come after they get out of that meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And so part of the school will obviously be part of that January 25 tax increase, and then the DPW will be included in it as well. So I asked if there's some way that, following the meeting, we could get some kind of a general timeline to... I mean, I mentioned the fact that some people want to know when they should put their house on the market, right?
Yep.
I mean, and they both were taken back by that statement, but that's the reality.
Just a quick note, if this is on tape. There's been no increase in sales or available houses in the market, and I do think that, if we start seeing a trend of something, but people making statements like that, considering we still have lower than average taxes.
I agree. I'm not the one asking that question.
Can be something like, I think that at one point you have to say, have I carried too much equity, and I can't shift even small within what other people do in other towns. There has to be another question. But when we make statements like this in a public finance committee meeting, I want to clarify the fact of the math. We have some...
I'm following up on a question from last week.
Yes, exactly. But
You mentioned January 25th? January 25?
January of 2025 is when the tax impact will first hit the taxpayers.
For which project? Both of them, or?
The middle school.
Portion of the school
Okay.
and the DPW.
Right. So it's not going to go in full swing until the project's complete, correct?
No.
It's not going to go
Right.
full swing
No.
Right.
ever, till the building is built. I
Right.
asked a similar question tonight at the middle school building, and I'll get a more detailed answer later, but January 25 is the first time that a little bit of an increase in taxes is seen, and
Right.
an increase in expenditures is seen, because it's phased.
Right.
It's not until we actually buy the steel and the roofing and the boilers or whatever the heck we're going to buy
Parts and pieces.
that we have to spend a lot of money. Right now, it's just for management fees.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to have a big conversation about it, just to follow up, and that's the information that I brought back to the meeting, that's all. And then the other part of the questions from last week were follow-up on the documents that were distributed at the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. So I requested that we get we're going to request a meeting on the 2nd of January, which is our next meeting. So we'll have Mary Beth, which we're going to see if we can get Karen Clancy and Ken here as well. So if you have questions on the preliminary revenue and expenditure forecast and the documents that were distributed, please bring your questions so that they can answer them, and we'll try to get them in for that purpose.
Any questions on the, I think we had a briefing on the audit between the high school. There are numbers that are missing that could skew how the budget should be doing, just sort of preliminarily. Can we ask why those are missing? Because just doing an overview of superintendent salaries, they've excluded all superintendent and higher up salaries, and then I just quickly did an overview looking at them, and we're very low comparative to other towns for that. So it might skew how much we're actually sort of where that audit comes to miss that large data set.
Okay.
So we'll be asking that question.
So the audit really had nothing to do with
Well, I thought that was part of the documentation that was put forward on that.
No.
I apologize.
No, that came in a different mailing.
Oh, it did come in
It
different mail?
wasn't passed out at the BOS.
All right, for some reason.
John.
Is there any chance that
It's just like that.
any written material we will get several days in advance of having the session on January 2nd?
Well, we have the material in advance. What we're doing is trying to formulate questions that you have regarding that material. You already have the material. Or if you don't, I can give
So
you.
the fact that the police budget is at 7.1, and they're saying that police and fire together are only going to be at 3.5 budget-wise, and it doesn't line up at all, but we got the budget first, and then we got the projection that they're towing the line with those two budgets, but it doesn't line up. What else, I mean, is there, I guess, how do you explain, maybe not in writing, how they come up with the, I'm going to get in trouble for this, fuzzy logic of basically halving what it's going to cost us for police and fire next year in a projection of what our expenses are going to be?
Well, I think it's important that we're still at the phase where we're talking to department heads. We haven't talked to them all. We haven't talked to all the budget managers. We haven't reviewed all the budgets yet. I don't think it's time to start reviewing and comparing what the projections are going to be. You know what I mean? Until we get to that part of the process, right?
Well, the thing is, when we meet with the selectmen, and they tell us that these two budgets, they're falling in line. There's only a 3 point whatever increase. And we already have, from both department heads, serious expenditures over and above what we're being told is going to be their budgets.
But that happens every year, right?
Well, yes, but this year, we're being given all this documentation, and we're told, you can run with this because we've figured it all out.
Yeah, but it's just a tool, John. That's just one tool. We still have to meet with all the departments. Are we going to use that and just stop? No.
Just a point of order.
Uh,
It was stated that it was not, nobody's going with, no department is being said. They're saying to the schools, do 5%, which is fine. But we're not saying do the 2.5. Follow Madden, there's no follow Madden here for anybody but one department. I have a problem with that. I think follow Madden, and then we review what's left, and we put what's left where it needs to be.
What?
So we assume that everybody's 2.5. So it was what John was saying. It was, but just for one department.
But all I'm saying is that's one piece of information. That's not what we're going to use to
absolutely.
formulate our recommendation to town meeting. So your question is good, but don't take that as the end-all be-all. That's
Yeah.
just one piece of information.
Oh, I'm not, but
Yeah.
this raises the question. If we've got this that looks like misinformation, what else have we been handed that's also questionable?
Okay?
That's my
So I
own
think your
point.
key word is questionable,
Can
right?
I-
That's what we're
Yeah.
looking for. Questions to bring up at the January 2nd meeting. That's all we're, so if you have
Right.
questions, ask specifics out of these things, the questions that you have, right? The budget you're talking about, ask specific questions to the people that formulated these documents. That's the time, right?
Right.
Now, it's not the time. I don't have the answer,
Chuck.
right?
Just,
Chuck was next.
okay.
So the 2.5, I think on the budget mailing, all these budget managers were told, besides 2.5 for salaries and level fund. And tonight, the departments coming in, looks like they did their best and they level funded a lot of these expensive. Obviously, a couple departments that have been in so far have not, and they've gone they're looking for a good amount. And obviously, like John was saying, their numbers don't jive with this number, so maybe they weren't talking to these people who came up with this.
They definitely weren't.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that's what it's got to be.
Right.
There's probably
This
gonna
was
be
an
some-
independent process, not with the budget
Yeah,
managers at all.
Can I see the
So, but it is good to keep at the top of our, in the forefront of our mind, because yes, that begs a question of which way is this going? Is it gonna, you're telling us this thing, but we have a couple of the bigger ones already going beyond that.
Yeah. So bring the
No,
question up on the
yeah.
second, that's all. Right?
So,
But whoever formulated this does have an increase above 2.5%.
Right.
Over and over again, most of them. Even a 10% increase is Osho Votech. We've got 7%. I mean, it's the disparate impact of singling out one demographic of families is deeply concerning over and over again every year and verges on discrimination. It really does. And it really concerns me that it happens. If you could watch videos and see it every year, to say only the services that handle working families are the ones that we're going to constrain year after year after year after year is a problem. Particularly because doing that's going to be really costly because it's going to pull from the ability to borrow when we build.
Right.
It's
Well, I don't want to spend too much time. Kathleen had a question.
I don't spend as much time as others, so please don't do that. I'm sorry.
Rosemary, it's
don't-
7:15. All I'm saying is we have a budget meeting at
We'll have a
7:15.
conversation later, thank you.
Very good. Kathleen.
The only point I wanted to make is that after we left the budget meeting, the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen then went on to talk about how the town is very supportive of education, but maybe the schools should start looking for an operational override. First, he should have said it while we were there. And second, the schools are not causing this $273,000 deficit. It's not. It's almost $1 million something. So there's some fence mending that needs to take place. I feel that we were there. That's the time to talk about the budget issues, not wait for us to leave and then say the school should go for an operational override. Number one, it's never going to happen. They just got the budget to build the schools. So, and the last time they did it, they went down in
Failed
fitness.
miserably, yeah.
And they are not the reason that this budget has a deficit.
Right.
Okay.
Come right up. You have a seat.
Hot seat.
Thank you, Kathleen. A good point, and I hope that is brought up on January 2nd as well. So.
By moi.
Okay, Bruce Martin, DPW. Thank you for coming to our meeting.
No problem. I don't know if I'm a little late. I
Yeah.
come right from the
All right.
DPW Commissioners meeting.
Nope, 7:15. You're right on time as far as this schedule goes. So what we'll do, Bruce, is we'll go around the room, introduce everybody. We do have a new member, Mike Warner. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Warner.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
John Noon,
Kathleen Otina.
Lucas Moscoso.
Nice to meet you.
Al Cavity, how are you, Bruce?
Good, how are you?
Chuck Colby.
And
See you,
Rick
Bruce.
Evening.
Well, good evening.
A lot of trees down?
Yeah, I mean, I think we fared well, better than most towns around us, that's
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure. I
absolutely.
was kind of
Yeah.
surprised we didn't get any mutual aid calls,
Right.
like Pembroke and things like that, but I think they probably assumed that we were in the same boat as them, but we weren't as bad.
Yeah.
All right, so for the DPW budget, for those who are keeping tabs with the full Article 2 that was presented at the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, we start on page 5 of 9. Highway and Parks is Department number 22, and it starts with the superintendent on line 119. So, Bruce, from there, you can take it. Did you say you have a new budget to distribute? I did email the committee with that information, saying that you would be passing out a new budget.
Yes, I do have copies if you need it.
Yep, we definitely do.
Definitely.
Take one down.
Yep, that's the English right.
Did you need one too?
Oh, they're coming.
Hope I made enough.
So, Bruce, just a point of information. Sometimes,
have to share.
okay, I'll share.
I have,
All right.
A lot of times, the budget that's distributed early is an opportunity for the board to formulate their questions. So now that you're coming in with a different one, you might not have the same questions, right? So, but
right, yeah, and I
Here we go.
apologize for that.
changes are made, and it's a work in progress.
The good news was the change was a decrease.
Yes, it is.
That's always good.
So, so I'll get to those changes. We'll just start at superintendent's salary line, if you would like.
Yep.
So salary line is a 2.5% increase, which is, recommended by the town administrator for the department heads to put in for. So that's what I did. The second line, the CDL stipend, is 1% of the salary for us to maintain maintain my truck driver's license. Stop me at any time. The next line is the union labor salary. So that's the one that had the decrease. What happened here was we had some open positions, so I had them listed on my employee list as to be decided because we had nobody in those
TBD,
positions at the time. And I had one too many TBDs. It's a little, and there's no excuse for it, frankly, but as you're going down the list and I'm looking at names, Coots, and then just going down my guys' names, it's a lot easier. And then when I had the TBDs, I had, one extra position. And then when we filled one of them, and so now we only have one. So it basically took out one whole line, one whole salary line. And
Okay, yeah.
that was the reason for the decrease there.
Ralph, how are you? Let the record show Ralph is in attendance here. Bruce Martin, you know Ralph?
How you doing? And that number there includes, their yearly salary based on their hourly rate, that you see down the bottom, any stipends that they may get, and their projected overtime. Then they come up with a total number for the year, and then you just add all those up.
So with that number, Bruce, so it looks like, originally you were at 644, but the change brings it down to 588 after you get rid of that other TBD.
That is correct.
So that does a big thing on the percentage too. Okay. All right, thanks.
So union clerical salary, that one went up. The secretary informed me this morning that she would like she'll be at her 20-year anniversary, and she would like to put in for her 7% longevity benefit. So that would kick in. So I had to split that 6 months and 6 months because that kicks in on January 4th of next year. So she'll be getting her regular rate for 6 months, and then on January 4th she'll get her 7% increase for the next 6 months. So that's how I arrived at the $55,523 for her salary. And then that will continue in the next fiscal year. Also, they get it for 2 years. But for this. Recording secretary. That is secretary, the recording secretary for the DPW commissioners meetings. I schedule 17 meetings. We meet once a month, but I provide a budget for 17 because there's always things that come up employee issues, emergency meetings that we have to have. So just to be safe, because that is a separate line, I scheduled for 17. Longevity pay, that's based just on the various employees' years of service. It does fluctuate. We've had a turnover, so it actually went down. We have a lot of new guys now, so that actually went down slightly. Police coverage is police details for any road work we do. So every time you see us in the road, we always have a detail. If it's not Chapter 90 work, it comes out of this line. If it's Chapter 90 road work, it comes out of that line, that state funds. So we just hold the line on that every year. Obviously, there's increases in the police pay contractually. It goes up every year, but we stay under this. Typically, it gets close some years depending on what type of road work we're doing. But, the bulk of the road work you see, I can put that on the Chapter 90 for the details. Divisional expenses. This line, this is everything. This is to heat the buildings, pay for the fuel for the trucks, pay for any kind of parts we have to buy, equipment repair, purchase asphalt to patch roads. Essentially everything we do down there comes out of this line. Again, just held the line. It comes close every year. It's always, it can come down to if we have to do a major repair, say on a vehicle, needs a new transmission, on a front end loader or something, where they can run, $8,000 or something like that. But, I just left it there. I think we can operate within that. I think when we get the new building built, we may revisit that and see how we do as far as utilities with the new building. It may be best.
Yeah, hopefully it may be better.
Yeah.
Todd, I'm sure. Well,
Yeah.
well, actually, that would probably be the designers, but yeah, maybe it'd be better.
Stormwater management, this is an engineering services that we pay for every year. It does fluctuate based on the storm management reports, stormwater management reports are required every year by the DP that they provide. There's testing that they do at outfalls. It does fluctuate. This number could change, and I'm hoping it changes down. I don't think it will go up, that's for sure. So I just left it at last year's rate. But sometimes there's the further we get into it, there should be less task for the engineering services to perform. And I was hoping to have that number for tonight, but I don't. So I just left it level and hopefully adjust down as needed. Street lighting. This became part of the DPW lines a couple of years ago with former town administrator. So this pays for all the streetlights in town and all the repairs to the streetlights in town. We now own all the streetlights. We as a town, Lisa Green did a program years ago where we switched over to all LED lights, and now the town owns all those LED lights. So there is a savings, obviously, for electricity, but we do have the burden now of repairing the lights. Somebody crashes into a telephone pole, and that pole comes down, and the National Grid will put up the pole, but they'll leave the light laying on the side of the road. They won't put it back up now because it's that light. So then I have to have a private contractor come out and put the light back up and rewire it.
Insurance cover that though?
If we can go after if it's a car accident, we can go after the insurance
Yeah.
company. If it's a tree or something like that, then
Right.
obviously we have to eat it. So we
Right.
have done that, and there's actually a company that does that for us. If somebody crashes into a telephone pole, I can call this company and they'll actually put the light back up and just have me sign off, and they'll go after the insurance company. They do it all.
Perfect.
So that's perfect case.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's tough because we had to repair the light in Whitman Center the electrical box for the flashing light, and it cost me $3,000 to have the company come down just to do an electrical box at the base of the light. So it can get expensive. So kind of, if the light is like on a side street that went out, kind of like give it some time and wait till around the spring and then see what kind of money's left on that line. If it's an important light, like at an intersection like Buell Street, we had one, you get it repaired as soon as possible. Solid waste disposal. So our contract was up with Waste Management as of December 31st, so we went out to bid. We advertised, we went out to bid. Interviewed 6 or 7 potential bidders, pre-bid, and we thought we were going to have a big turnout, and we ended up only getting 2 bidders. Waste Management was the low bid again, so it was a significant increase, which we expected because we had been with them. We were in the middle of a longer contract with them, so we were, you know, the benefit of older pricing actually. It's a tough industry. The cost to bring solid waste, to dispose of solid waste, is going up and up and up. We're back at the levels where we were years ago when we used to send it to CMAS, and then we saw significant savings after that, but now we're back up again. Same thing with recycled goods. It's almost as much cost to get rid of recyclables now as it is to get rid of the trash. But that's market-based, it fluctuates. So this is a 3-year contract with 2 years optional at the end of that. And really nothing we can do about it to favor the low bidder. And actually, you know, I worked with the DEP on this contract, and he was pleasantly surprised at what the prices came in at. He thought we were going to see a much higher increase with the new contract. Park maintenance. Park maintenance, you know, you go back a few years, this line was at $5,000. You know, a few years back, we got together, the department heads, and was like, well, where can we cut, save a little money here and there, so we cut it back. Just trying to creep it up again. I do a lot of park maintenance out of my regular operating budget, that 188. You know, we have irrigation in there, we have pond takes, I spend almost $2,000 a year in pond chemicals just to keep the algae down in that pond. There's a compressor that runs the aerators to keep the algae down. You know, there's a lot of maintenance costs in the park that, again, we use up a lot of it. We use with the regular operating budget, but it's nice to have that line that's just park maintenance only. And you know, I spend a couple $1,000s a year on new wood chips. Every spring I get 100 ton of wood chips for the playground. Mm-hmm. There's no budget for playground maintenance. That's, you know, what we use right there. So just trying to get that back up to what it was in the past. The next 2 lines are just the totals. The snow and ice, it stays at 120 every year. It's the only line that can be deficit spend, so it stays at 120. There's almost never that it stays that we do not deficit spend that line.
We've had 4 good years in a row, right?
Yeah, I mean, last year we went plowing 0 times, but we sanded
Sanding.
22 times.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of those sanding storms where you get 3 inches, but it takes 9 hours to get 3 inches.
Oh,
The
right.
guys come in at 10 o'clock at night, they'll go to home, they stay all night till, you know, 4 o'clock the next afternoon, and they're sanding, they salt,
Oh, yeah.
come back, 4 hours later they salt again, but it's not plowed,
Right.
you know, so we're melting it. And so it can get costly with the salt. Salt did go down a few dollars a ton this year, surprisingly. We're in a Plymouth County consortium bid, so we do as best we can with that. And that's the last line.
Very good.
Yep, pretty much, yep.
All right, so we'll open it up to the committee for questions. Rosemary.
Yes, I had a question for solid waste disposal. Does is this a portion that doesn't come out of the fees? So when we're paying for the way, isn't that partially paid by the fees of the taxpayer?
Yes, yeah, the fees. So how I come up with the fees every year is I take this number right here and I divide it by the amount of users. And that's how we come up with the fees. That's why there was more of a significant increase this year, because usually it might go up a few dollars each year or $5. This year it went up $35 because we had the new contract and there was a bigger jump.
So this is being paid for by fees, not the levy. So, the fees go right into the operating budget. You don't have a separate account for the fees?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, once we negotiate the contract, with the DPW is more of a manager of this. We have nothing to do with the operations of the trash. We're kind of like the complaint department, but really, it being 100% contracted out, it
goes to the town. So
Right.
it's not like the other budget.
So it zeroes out in the end.
It
Yeah.
zeroes out. It just goes to free cash.
I mean, we have to build in some contingencies for hot loads and things like that, but
And people don't pay the bill.
and there are some people that and that's a factor also, but. That again, we don't really get into that at all. That's the collector's office.
Okay.
So I think it's important to know that the DPW isn't in the same budget as the rest of the town, right? Which is retained
There are some-
earnings.
Yeah, there's some like water retained earnings,
enterprise.
yeah, enterprise accounts, but this is not an enterprise account that you have essentially. It goes
Correct.
right into free cash and
Correct.
then
We don't
punches
really-
out to the levy.
Yeah, there is no I don't operate any enterprise accounts. We take in TVs and propane tanks and stuff like that, and there's fees, small fees for those, and those all get. It's not like I take those monies in. I can put them towards this bill. They go directly into the town of Whitman.
So basically, I guess what I'm saying, when we're talking about this particular increase has a separate, outside of your tax increase, it'll be your fee increase that handles this. So when they're talking a percentage of the budget, this line
Right.
isn't really entering into that.
But I guess the entire DPW, right, I think it's important to know that that's a separate funding source, right? It's not part of the budget. It doesn't, so money coming back in from one of these lines doesn't go into free cash. It goes back into the retained earnings, water sewer.
Because the
Not
water
water.
sewer,
DPW.
Yeah.
it goes back into the DPW.
No, it does not.
It
No,
goes-
general
so
fund.
it's the opposite of what you're
General
saying.
fund.
Oh,
Yeah.
water sewer is an enterprise fund.
Yeah,
Okay.
enterprise. This goes back into the general fund.
This does.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
then, when we're talking about the levy, right, which is text from when we're talking about the levy, and which is what a lot of this calculation is from, we're talking about 2.5% over last year. This is in addition to the 2.5, so it's on top of the amount that was last year. So we have to add this to the levy when we're calculating the total, because it's a fee-based thing that comes
Right.
through.
Yep, I understand what you're saying, yes.
So it kind of almost,
It's almost self-funded.
yeah, it's self-funded, it knocks itself kind of
Yeah.
out of this calculation, that's all it is.
Okay, very good. I did have a question regarding line 116, because you brought it up, it was part of your email today. I
Yes.
did ask Mary Beth about this afternoon. This is a 777 Lexington plan increase, right?
2, 7 and 7. I don't think it's 7. It's 2 years.
So,
It used to be 5, 5, 5.
in our estimation, Lexington plans have been discontinued. Unfortunately, the DPW, it still exists in the collective bargaining agreement, so just so everybody knows. This individual is eligible for the Lexington plan because it still exists within the DPW collective bargaining agreement.
I thought the Lexington plan was the 3-year retirement and then I'm leaving.
Well, that's what it entails. This person isn't going to stay beyond this salary
It rolls
increase.
back.
Yeah.
So if they choose to take, after 20 years, they could choose to take the 7 and 7. And then if they
Stay.
decide not to retire, the salary rolls back at 14%.
Oh.
That's why it's the Lexington
meant to
plan.
push them
Remember
out.
this
But
whole
I thought
thing?
it was gone.
It
Yeah.
is. In every other department except the DPW's
So-
collective bargaining agreement still retains this language.
So who forgot to?
Contract.
Who did that?
Well, it hasn't been,
Is this-
I asked this question today, so it's the first I saw of a Lexington plan, because
I thought
we
that-
all thought they were
I
gone.
don't
Former
negotiate
town
contracts.
administrator.
Actually, don't have anything to do with
I you.
contracts. Yeah.
So this,
Contract, the Board of Selectmen?
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
We were
the
told it was phased
DPW
out.
commissioners are probably the ones that
We were
negotiate the
told
collective
this
bargaining
was
agreement.
phased
No, we
out.
don't.
We were
Phased
told-
out,
No.
and it was an issue with a couple of people who got the sunset that they were promised it,
Yeah, there was
But-
two people. There were only two people
Yeah.
that were grandfathered in.
and that was it.
Mary Beth and Dawn.
Mary
and that
Beth
was
and
it.
Dawn.
It was supposed to be over.
Right.
Yeah. So
So apparently it's reared its ugly head again.
so shame on somebody for not keeping up with the processes that we've been going and working on.
So, I mean, like I
How long-
said,
so this person's been here.
20 years.
Could we say that this is really the last?
Well,
Or is
No,
it-
I can't believe that until it's the last. And this is nothing against her. This is something that has been worked on for like
Still in
6
the
years.
contract, right?
So I believe looking at my longevity, that line, there's one point that works for me right now that has 19 years. So he'll be within this current contract to be able to do it,
do it again.
when he hits his 20 years. After that, there's a pretty large gap in longevity. So if if the Board of Selectmen in their next negotiation were to make a move and try to eliminate that, that would be the time, because there's nobody else for 5, 7, 8 years that's gonna. I took it like I'm in my 31st year, and when I hit my 20th year, I thought it was gonna be gone back then, so I took it for 2 years, and then I rolled back.
Okay.
So it's a 2-year, 7% and 7,
Yeah.
it's not the 555 that.
No, well, the 555 was a hybrid, as you recall, for non-union employees to mimic the
Yeah.
Lexington 777. So this is not the Lexington plan, but it's similar. It's 2/3 of the Lexington plan. John?
I don't think it necessarily goes away unless there's a contract change.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand the people in the DPW and what they have for longevity. But if you were to hire somebody that had 18 years in one of these town departments,
Yeah. Would it?
they would just need a couple of years and they would qualify again, as long as it's in that contract.
Perhaps.
Because this came up somewhere, as I recall, and my recollection is always fuzzy, but at some point, there was an appeal made, well, I worked so many years at this department, then I moved on to this department. And they added it up
They kept their steps, yeah.
to get to the point
Yeah.
of having the
Right.
longevity.
So I think it's something that we need to bring up, that's all. I mean, we're certainly not going to circumvent someone that can avail themselves to a condition of the contract, right?
No.
It is what it is, but I just think it's important for us to know that this is the Lexington plan, or something similar to it still exists in the DPW collective bargaining agreement, so.
Is there any other collective bargaining agreement that we need to know about?
No, I asked that question. This is the only one left.
So obviously that person you asked the question of knew that it was in there or knew of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mary Beth today, when I sat with her and Kathy.
I'm disappointed that we worked so hard on that, and it's just not sustainable. We just can't keep this up.
Right,
Correct.
very good.
I just want to quickly make a point that one of the reasons we're able to create that 2.5% for all employees was because we did eliminate some of those golden parachute stuff. So is this going to impact our ability to provide, if we continue these sorts of things, provide, that sort of healthy yearly increase that we've been trying to sort of maintain? That's a thought.
Yep, very good.
Well, I think if this committee and the negotiating board for the DPW, circling back, like I said, I got a 19-year-old guy, 19-year man, and so he'll be eligible for that. But after that, 9 years, 6 years, 2 years, 6 years, 3 years.
All right.
So there's time to.
Unless somebody transfers.
Unless somebody transfers.
Yeah, but I can tell you that
They don't really- you don't
nobody's
typically get
transferring to the
transfers.
DPW. Yeah, like, oh, I want to make 30 grand less.
You get a new,
You know,
Someone's coming in from the assessor's office.
That's a good point, Bruce.
you got a nice new building, you never know.
Yeah.
yeah.
You might get some takers.
Okay, and then I just had another question, Bruce. Can you discuss the expense line as it relates to the transition functions and expenses during the building construction? So you're going to be pretty soon involved in a pretty upending process here by moving in your operations to a temporary place, right? So,
Right.
So is there something in that expense line that's going to be impacted by that move? Do you think you're going to have less expenses where you're moving to, or?
Well, obviously, we won't be heating and powering the back building, which is, you know, we keep the heat at 50 in the big building. That's just absolute sieve. I mean,
Right.
with the condition it's in, and just to keep the trucks warm enough. So obviously, we won't be heating and you know powering up that back building. It will just be the front building. So there's be a savings there in gas and electricity. We will be moving the armory. The armory, we will, you know, we're doing a few things to make that livable, putting a hot water heater in, but, you know, that was $300. Some of that stuff is going to come out of it, is going to actually draw it down from the building itself, not my operating line. We kind of foresee that the gas bill for the armory is going to go up, but we also think that that will probably is a legitimate expense out of the building, the new building line as a temporary facility expense. Building committee.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah. So things like that. But I actually don't foresee any costs going up, that's for sure, vacating that back building.
We don't have an armory line. I've never seen an armory line in any of these budgets to care for the army. Isn't that fire department's line?
Well, the fire department, it's not part of the fire department, but they have maintained the building within their budget, yeah.
Yeah, I
They
think he
made
pays the
repairs.
gas bill for that.
Yeah.
It's in the fire department. Armory building maintenance, $10,000.
Okay, so it's in the fire, but it's not its own separate thing. So it's in the fire.
Yeah.
So
Mike.
we've got a little bit of
So
crossover.
going back to that, when the chief came in, we were talking a little bit about the use of that building. One of the concerns that came up was the lack of security at that building. So if we're going to put all your machines and things like that over there, there may be an expense to put some kind of security system or video surveillance system in there. It'd be a kicker to come in the morning and, you know, somebody's been driving the trucks around town
So-
and left them someplace.
I know they recently had a break-in, or some of the kids that got in there. I will say that the equipment that's been in there all along is probably, you know, some valuable equipment. The county has some, you know, high-tech stuff in there, trucks, response trucks and stuff like that, ambulances, fire engines. So I don't really see it being too much different. I mean, it has a big garage door that locks down, and then we may do something in the front, you know, where the guys would walk in and out rather than open the garage door to make that a little more secure. But other than that, you know, it's kind of the same as where we are now. Is we don't have any kind of security system whatsoever at the DPW where we are now.
Will there be one in the new building?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Much more secure.
yeah,
I was going to say, you
Yeah.
have to today.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now we can't drive around the
Well,
trucks.
the DPW, you're kind of fenced in. I know
Next
it's
week.
not a cure-all, but you are
the
still
Christmas.
fenced into a point.
Yeah, and I think the
After
plan,
Christmas run.
we're going to keep as much as we can down at Essex Street, surrounding the old building, because we'll be occupying that old building out front all winter and during construction. And a lot of the trucks, though, will be parked outside at the armory. You know, that's where the firefighters park their personal trucks all night long. They're 24/7 operations, so we'll be parked kind of next to them.
Okay.
Kathleen?
This is sort of not a budget question, but I had an email from a concerned citizen because they knew you were coming tonight. Can you tell me what's going on with the middle school crossing and the pedestrian light that was removed by the state? I picked my granddaughter
I know,
up
it's
Saturday,
weird, yeah.
It's a disaster.
So they sent out a notification last spring saying that they were going to do maintenance on the overhead light. So going back to Chief Greno and I had been sending them periodically email saying, you know, you need to come down and check that light, it's leaning. I don't know if everybody noticed that. It looked like this. So they would come out and they would measure from the light to the road, and as long as they had their 14'6", they said, oh, it's fine, we get the height. I'm like, I'm concerned about the height,
Yeah.
concerned about the lean. And so they just left it for years. Then they finally determined, that thing's leaning, it's not safe, we're going to come out and we're going to put the new lights in. We thought when they meant maintenance, they were going to straighten it out. But they totally took it out, which that day we actually had the officers, you know, I was on the phone with the chiefs, it was a big scramble. Well, they actually wouldn't let the crew work. The police on scene said, stop, you know, before you do anything, we're going to try to find this out. So we weren't able to stop them. They deemed it unsafe. They said it had to come down. The new standard was just the crossing lights on either side. We all disagreed with that. We had state come down. We had a meeting with one of the top guys down in District 5. He said that's the new standard. We said we don't agree with that. We want an overhead light.
That's a standard not for a school zone. So, because we're not deemed a school zone in which we should be, because any crossing within a part of a distance around. So, from Finance Committee on, that's liability. There's a lot of kids that go over from. We have a ton of walkers, far more than Hanson. If you go over on a State Street in Hanson, they have them in the same place. We need to get off to the state.
So
on
Hanson isn't a state road. So Hanson put up a signal at the middle school where it's actually a traffic signal.
that.
But
One
they
of them
did,
is a state road, I think.
well, it's route, but it's not state owned and maintained.
It's not 58.
So it can be a numbered route. So Whitman Route 58 is a state numbered route, but it's not state owned and maintained.
Not Maine.
So Whitman has Route 27 from Weston Temple to the Brockton line. That's state owned and maintained, and Route 18. Route
Yeah.
14 is a numbered route. We own it, maintain it.
Just Finance Committee point of view, we're trying to have, to reduce the cost of busing. We have a lot of walkers, you know, and that road is fast and quick, and really all the kids have to cross it. We have to do something.
We don't
Liability.
disagree. I mean,
Yeah, I know you
we
do.
had them in there. We were like ganging up on them, like police chief, fire chief, myself, school department, Jeff Simonak. We were all in at this meeting at the police station with the state and expressing to them in no uncertain terms that we wanted a traffic light back out. That pushing a button on the side of the road with flashing yellow over here on the sidewalk. For one thing, the kids are used to pushing a button and getting a red light, not just a flashing yellow
Yeah.
that motorists can choose to
No.
blow through.
So you went to the state and said, we need a school zone. Because a light and a school zone are two different things.
So the school zone, the whole school zone issue actually came up before the light was removed, but around the same time. Trying to be brief as I can, but
Yeah,
so
thank you.
so we got a grant essentially where they gave us school zone radar feedback signs, and so when you go through a school zone, in your travels you'll go through, and during loading hours in the morning and in the afternoon, that light will come on, it'll flash 20 miles an hour, and it also has a radar down below and say your speed. So if you're going through there at 27, it'll flash at you like you're going too fast, it's a school zone. And then during the daylight, during the day, middle of the day, when they're not coming and going, it's not flashing. So we got some of those signs for free, and we were going to install them, so I have to go to the state. We got them for free from the state, but we had to do the install. So part of installing anything on the state highway is getting a road opening permit. So I put in for a road opening permit, and they want to ask why. I said I want to install school zone radar feedback signs. But you can't do that because that's not a school zone. I said, it certainly is a school zone. There's a school right there. There's the state actually put that overhead light in where the crossing guard controls it.
Yeah.
The state actually has painted school in the road on Route 27. Well, it's never been officially deemed a school zone, so you have to go all through these hoops to get it called a school zone.
What do they
So,
want to see
that's what
somebody's
months.
kid get killed out there?
Right. Well,
So what's the hoops? My concern now is we're about to negotiate and we're about to make recommendations that are best financially for the busing, because we pay a lot more busing than we should. Pulls from other budgets and other things. And some of those things are those, safe routes from schools, which because that's the Chapter 90 program. So if we don't get that in place, it's going to be hard to recommend all these other financially sound things. We would be dangerous to do it. So that's really important.
So we did get it deemed a school zone, and we are, and the radar signs, the radar posts went up, and the other company has to come in and they got to program the radar. That's going to be supposed to happen today. The work has COVID, they're going to do it like after Christmas, right
Really
after Christmas.
appreciate your work. Thank you so much.
So those are, the posts are there, but they don't have any signage on them. The one's just before Arthur Street, and the other one's coming east just before Highland Ave where that crossing guard stands. So they're flash. In our opinion, and I can probably speak for the chiefs also because we've talked about it so much, that's still not good enough. We still want them to reinstall a traffic light over the top that the crossing guard can control, or just a kid going to soccer practice on a Saturday can hit the button and get a red light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's going to be, we're going to have to get it, representatives in on it and everything.
Yeah, Bruce, I was just gonna bring that up. Have you
Thank
talked
you
to a
for
state
your time on
senator?
this.
Yeah, I've talked to Allison Sullivan. She's aware of it. She's willing to push them at the state level.
I'm up with a
How
state
about
senator.
Brady?
I haven't talked to him.
I will
You should
call
probably talk to
and
him.
leave.
Yeah.
See what he can do.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
just saw him before we came in.
Okay.
Look how-
Does that
That's what they get
pretty
paid
much
to
cover your
do.
question
Yes, I
then?
know it's not financial.
No, it is all related, and I understand the
I thought it was
connection.
financial.
Yeah.
An email, I know you're on the
Thank you.
FinCom, and I know Mr. Martin's coming before you tonight, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all the work. to
All
get
right.
it done.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the Parks and Highway budget? All right. Well, we thank you for the updates, and
Nice job,
if
Bruce.
anything comes up, just get us an email, and we'll
Will
get
do.
your question
I just
answered.
thought of a question.
Nope.
Getting back to that, would it be easier just go ahead and unscrew the yellow light, and put a red light in there instead?
Put a new bulb?
Yeah, unscrew the yellow, put a red one in there,
like
because
put
some
even
people
with
look
the
at
yellow.
yellow, that means speed up, as opposed to slow down.
We are in Massachusetts.
I mean, I know the police department is, as much as they can, is having a cruiser out there in the morning when the crossing guard and in the afternoon is crossing the kids. And I know Officer Harrington was freaking out because, he would be standing right there and the people she'd push the button and it'd flash yellow and the cars would go through even with them standing there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see that.
But red, they'd get a ticket for running a red light. That's
Right.
We feel as if they.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I don't know if Dave has tried to message you or anything. He was Dave LeMay.
Yeah.
He's supposed to come in after me.
Yeah.
He's I know he's running around like crazy because we have some issues at the sewer stations. I'll shoot him. I'll give him a call when I walk home the hall and just see.
Oh, okay.
How he's
Yeah,
doing.
if you can let us know if he's coming, that would be great.
Okay.
Merry
Because if not,
Christmas.
Then we'll just leave.
okay, thank you very much.
I'll let you know. I'll
Thank
just call him. Oh, he's not here.
Oh, okay.
He is here.
Yeah, he's right.
Good, you can always come in anytime you want and listen to everybody else's presentation.
Well, I didn't want it, my first time here, I didn't want to interrupt or
No,
anything.
you're
so,
fine,
you know what I
Dave.
mean?
Have a seat right here, you're welcome. All right, so for everybody, this is Dave LeMay, the new water sewer superintendent. We're gonna go around the board and introduce everybody.
Mike Warner?
Ralph Mitchell.
John Newman.
Kathleen O'Teen.
Rosemary Conley.
Lucas Moscoso.
Al Cafferty.
Chuck Colby?
And Rick Anderson. So, welcome.
Thank
So, just to get you started, I'll cue you up here by saying that the water sewer budget is Department 23, and it is on page 5 of 9 on that. It starts on page 5. It's only one line is on page 5, and then it continues on to page 6 on the on the Article 2. And then everybody has a copy of your budget that was submitted earlier, and appreciate, Dave, there was I guess there were some cells that were missing originally, and so you resubmitted and got them.
Yes, which was, I think it was the interest.
Yes. Interest
I
principal.
apologize if you hear my phone go off, but we have a serious issue with one of the sewer stations right now that we're trying to correct.
So we'll try to get you in and out so you can get back to your.
No, not a problem.
Okay, so, just for, the kind of what we do is, let you go through your budget. Let us know, anything specific about any budget line, anything that you see that, you had a change or there's something different. And then we'll open it up to the board for questions and then, you're free to go back to your disaster.
Yeah, it should, everything seems pretty, I tried
Is
to
that
do,
affiliated with the one that was going on in Brockton? They were having some sort of water sewage issue too.
yeah, ours is the one we're having right now is over on 14 by the Brockton line. But I don't know if that has
This
to do
was
with-
downtown Brockton.
Oh, I didn't know, it doesn't
Streets were
affect.
blocked off and it was a mess.
Oh,
And that was earlier today, not lately. So
okay, so this DP, Water Sewer Enterprise starts on, it's Department 23 and starts with line 111 superintendent.
Yeah, so bear with me, because my first time going over all this.
Take
so-
your time,
take your
yeah.
time.
So the superintendent's salary went up due to the town administrator, a 2.5% increase for the superintendent's salary. And the CDL stipend is because I have my CDL licenses and stuff, so it went up that little bit. The union labor, we did it based on, 2,088 hours a week. And then I did it as 250 hours at overtime. Normally they do it around 150, 180. The reason for that is I'd like to try to do flushing the water system in twice a year instead of once a year. Because every year we usually have problems with a lot of water complaints, the dirty water.
Oh, yeah.
Restaurants keep on calling saying that the machines got clogged, so I'm hoping that if we do it twice a year, it makes it cleaner. Every time we flush and we don't have any issues, and once I can get it cleaner, I could probably get rid of the overtime and do some more flushing during the day, during normal working hours, instead of at night. But this is just to see how things work. So that's why the salary went up. On that one, the clerical salary, it's, the clerical, she's like halfway through, so that's gonna be her step raise this year and a step raise next year.
Yeah, it's probably contractual, right? So you
Contractual
might-
step raises,
yeah.
yes. Longevity's pretty much the same. I kind of look back a little bit from the previous years, and it seems to be fine. The same thing along with the police detail. The sewer and the sewer disposal costs and the water purchases, pretty much the same all year round during the year. Electricity, same thing. We did a little bit lower than the last time, so everything's working out. Same with the heat, the gasoline, everything. A lot of the, like the heat, the gasoline, the telephone, they're all pretty much the same every year, so or less. So I kind of kept it all the same. I noticed that the telephone. Where am I? Right here. Telephone. It was up a little bit, but since then I noticed that we have a call-out system at a couple of stations that we have taken out, so that might be a little bit less. The chemical purchases, we're pretty much staying under what we have, which is good. But I noticed that the costs are going up a little bit, which a lot of it's the calcium nitrate that we use to treat the H2S's and stuff in the system. I'm trying to get a new system in there, so hopefully that'll bring the cost down, because the more we buy, the less it costs. So we're trying to get a larger tank and stuff in there, and it'll be more efficient. The maintenance, which I believe that one's the sewer maintenance for the stations, I kept pretty much the same. I noticed last year, the FY23 year was up a little bit, but it wasn't much that I think that we might be able to keep it the same and have any issues with. Same thing with the, where am I here? The divisional expenses, which is the water. Oops, no, I was under that one. Over on the water, I'm sorry, I apologize. But that could be when we do roads over, we have to buy extra curb boxes and stuff to replace them if they get broken and stuff. So that the data processing, I know that went over a little bit, but I think I should be fine with the budget that's there. The water leak detection is 9,000. I added 1,000 only because I wasn't sure. I reached out to 3 different leak detection companies to try to get a quote, and I came back, I got 1 quote out of the 3 come back, and it came up to $9,250, so I could actually lower that back down to 250 to increase it by 250 instead of 1,000. I just wanted to throw something in there for right now to cover, just in case, until I got the quotes back. And then the cross connection, those would be fine. Same thing with the miscellaneous. And as far as the bank, and I believe that's it, because I'm not sure, like I said, this is new, like when you get into the interest and the principal, I'm not sure how that.
Right.
I think that's.
The treasurer collector usually gives us that information.
Gives us
Yeah.
more of that information.
Yep, very good.
So that's where I stand.
Excellent. All right.
I apologize for
So
the
Dave,
phone.
anybody have any questions for Dave?
This is all, this whole budget's being covered by the water sewer enterprise account, correct? Is that the-
Yes.
Just a quick one, all right. So, the bank lockbox, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it's new to me.
Yeah,
also,
it's new to me
so
too. That's kind of why I was like, what's going on with this? Just so that we're keeping everything what's that for? Is that pertain to the water sewer enterprise?
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is if it's not water sewer. You know.
Nothing was expended in fiscal '23.
This is what I'm saying. What is this new thing and why is it here?
So we could bring that question up to the treasurer collector next week.
What's an indirect cost to the general fund?
That I'm not sure of either. I haven't had a long time to be able to ask some more questions on some of the.
Yeah,
Stuff yet,
I do believe 915 to 960 were covered by the treasurer collector when he came in to do his budget presentation, I think, if you recall. But maybe not. We'll ask.
He may have, but I think I told you, Rick, I had a horrible time following Ken, and usually
He's in so many different departments, that's why I think he covered these as well, you know.
So you covered these two that I just asked?
I don't think he covered the bank lock boxes, no, but we can ask about that on the second.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that anything that's being paid for is directly related to the water sewer thing, because that's appropriate, and anything not is goes to the levy. Because these are,
Right,
yeah.
yep. Okay, so I did have a question on, do you foresee any additional costs related to the new, transition to the new building? During the construction, you're gonna, things are gonna be upended a little. Do
Yeah.
you see that, do you have what your plan for action, I guess, for water sewer?
As far as the water sewer, we're more in the front building. So there's nothing.
Nothing's gonna be happening.
We might have to leave a couple trucks outside to help, obviously, Bruce be able to put some of his stuff in there for the winter time. But as far as, it's really not gonna affect the water and sewer at all.
Okay.
Division at all.
Quick question. Jerry, are you done?
Go ahead.
Just a simple, anything about the demographics of actually demographics wouldn't affect you, but the population of the town or laws that would affect your budget this year? They're shifting or changing that you're sort of...
Not that I am aware of at this time. The only thing by population that it would affect would be myself, because I would have to go out and get another license, because my water distribution license is based on population.
That's important. How much would that fee cost to up you to the next?
It's like, I think it's roughly $1,000 for the class,
Okay.
but that's,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that, because that affects the town and my license
Yeah.
to be able to be considered an operator for the water
Right,
system.
well, on that question, are you close to that
I'm
point?
actually signed up for school, to attend school in February, and I'm just gonna go and get it now. So if it does
It is.
go over, because I know the populations, I was looking into like 14.5 something or somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
But
15.
who knows if that's everybody that does that,
Yeah.
sends in the census, so I know what the
There's
population is.
other residential buildings to be built, right?
Yeah, so other residential
Yes,
are being
yep.
built, so.
So
All right.
I'm just being proactive and gonna just go out and get it, so if something I have it, because you're allowed to have one grade higher than what your system is.
So we're gonna- I'm just gonna
So-
add that amount.
Well, with that educational expense, would that come out
The
of
selectmen's?
selectmen's
It would come out of the
educational?
selectmen's budget, that's
should.
where I wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, whether I have to pay for it, get reimbursed for it, that's,
Yeah.
Any
Figure it out, but-
education comes out of the selectmen's budget according to what we're told.
Better do it quick because they run out of money. Run out of line.
You know?
That's why you do it at the beginning of the year.
I gotta get it done.
well, they only do these classes in the spring and the fall, so you have to take in
Just
a
let
lot
them
of
know you're gonna do it.
a lot of the licenses, the classes they have are always far away. The last time I went for my license, I had to go to Hyannis to the Cape to take the class at night, so, but that's what I have to do.
Do it in the spring, so you have a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Right. So one more question, Dave, on your,
Weekend of it.
line 111 is the superintendent's salary. Now, you mentioned that you reflected a 2.5% increase. It actually is a 22.57% decrease from last year's because there was a different person in there. So last year's it was 143,091. So now at 110,793, it actually represents a decrease.
Oh, the one, actually, so the 143 was,
Dennis's salary.
they appropriated the money to cover the new superintendent coming in, so
Oh,
both
that's right.
salaries would be paid for Dennis,
There was
overlap.
some
the overlap.
Yeah.
So that's why that's showing the 143.
That's
From what
right.
I understand, they added that article just to the salary line, so,
What would you do for that?
Right, because
Find it
Dennis, how long
helpful?
did Dennis spend?
excuse me?
I'm sorry, Chuck, did you find it helpful having Dennis around? for-
Yeah, believe it or not, yes, he was very, very helpful
Yeah.
Sure.
in getting, I mean, there are some stuff that we weren't able to get into, but he did very well to try to
Get you up?
get me situated.
I'm hearing good.
And just to,
Go ahead.
have you been with the Whitman Water and Sewer for,
I've been
Good amount of time?
11 years.
okay,
I've been here.
so yeah, you kind of know how it works.
Yes, know how it
The
works.
baton's been passed quite frequently lately. Hopefully,
Yep.
hopefully we have a little stability there.
I will be here for probably 12 years before I retire.
Good.
Okay.
All right, and your salary, you negotiate that with the DPW Water Commissioners?
Yes.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any other questions for Dave?
Not so sure if it's a question or more of a statement, but, you know, you've done great keeping us where they are, but I am looking at the fact that it's pretty much a level budget.
Yep.
It's nice, isn't it?
And, well, it is, but that I'm questioning the reality of life, because there's nothing that costs the same as it was last year. And, you know, the salaries went up by just about 11%. And you mitigated that by not upfunding any of the others. Where does that sit on the longer run? Right, because if it goes up the same thing every year, if we go up 11% each year, and next year you say I'm going to level fund to 23's level, that just smells like that could be a problem for us.
As of right now, like I said, being in the department and what a lot of this has to do with, like, if there's, I know a lot of material costs have gone up, but we try to keep materials in stock all the time, so we're not premium, you know, if we get it now, we have it now,
Yeah.
and not have to pay. Yes, if we have to replace it, it costs a little bit more, but, you know, we try to do it that way to try to keep costs down, and the more you buy it, the less it can be.
Right,
See if I
But,
help.
you know, so that's what I'm trying to do. But as of right now, what I can see of what the costs are, I should be okay for this, at least this year.
I'm
And a
looking,
lot of the water, you know, you get into water, you know, that's when, but where I keep in stock, I buy it.
Yeah, he's just saying when you have to replace it or you're gonna be hit, I would say. another
Yeah.
hit again.
I
So when
will-
we come to him, when we come to you next year and we say, you went over 2.5, we're gonna have to remember he went level this year, you know?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point,
Yeah.
is this is phenomenal for what we've been asked to do, but my concern is this a realistic way of setting the budget for 23 6, 27, 28 to level fund all the expenditure to maintain our infrastructure.
I'm hoping that and replace and improve the infrastructure, like right now, like, as you know, the sewer force main project, that was just a 30-year-old pipe in the ground. Gotta understand, we got 19 sewer lift stations in town that are also 30 years old. And I've already got evaluations to upgrade the 2 main stations, and they're looking at $10 million for each main station.
And I just,
So,
one thing that we haven't covered is grants, because we got a lot of money for that big main one paid for by the state, so that might be offset.
yeah, I have been working and looking for grants to be able to help pay for all this. Like, we're doing, the DEP has a lead service line inventory that we have to do to get rid of all the lead services in town and stuff. And right now I have a grant. It's like the cost is like $230,000, but with the grant, I'll end up getting that back.
Oh, wow.
For right now.
Yeah.
Great work.
So
Thank you.
I'm still working on. There are SRF loan projects, loans that we could get that we did for other infrastructure stuff for the sewer and water also.
It makes us happier.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Anything else, John Noon?
Has anybody talked to you about our reserve fund?
No, they have not.
Not to suggest that you should go crazy and try to spend it, but we have $35,000 for emergency situations. So if you find yourself having to buy more material than expected, whatever it might happen to be, check with Mary Beth to see what her thoughts would be on requesting, because it's the type of thing that has to be approved basically through her and comes to us for our approval. And you're looking like you don't want to spend it.
No,
because that will cut into our
No.
4th of July party.
No, it won't. It won't.
No, John, it's that this budget is independent from the rest of the budget.
So essentially,
This is funded by water sewer rates, and
yeah, this should be, his budget should
He'd go-
reflect what we charge, what we're charging on your water sewer rates, and he's trying to stay within that sort of
Right.
slot. Now remember, we went up in water sewer rates, so there was a big, I know some of it went over to the other things, but we did go up, so there is some flexibility within that budget. Does it come back to us to approve?
For what?
It still has to come back to finance committee to approve.
well, I think the first step would be he'd probably be transferring line items
Yeah.
within his own budget, right?
I guess-
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
John, would you be saying you're not alone if something happens? It is your first year that you do
Yeah.
come back. You try your best to get it from the state, do the best. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're not alone. Like, we're not going to let a pipe sit and like.
Yeah, because like I said, I have an issue going on right now, which it could be I might have to replace that whole panel, which could be up to $30,000 to $50,000.
Right.
But I believe I have extra money in the water sewer enterprise fund for emergencies.
Yes, that's the fund that we're talking. So where you would go.
Okay. Well, we'll let you get to your emergency then. We appreciate
Well,
you coming in.
thank
And
you.
if anything comes up, you have questions, send me an email. We'll get you
Yep.
an
Phone
answer.
never rings.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
got
you might be able to hear it a little bit, but yeah, it's going off.
Yep.
But have fun.
right,
Merry
great.
Christmas.
All right, Dave.
Thank you.
Welcome
Pleasure.
aboard. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you all, and thank you.
Good luck out there tonight.
Thank you.
I like his grants.
Very good. So, Don,
Some good work.
welcome. Do you have anything you want to bring up under go to the other public forum? No? Well, we appreciate you being here. All right. So let's go to our agenda where we have new business is pretty much taken care of. Old business, we have subcommittee reports. Capital Committee.
We meet after Christmas. I still have nothing from Don. He, at our last meeting, announced that he received all of the requests. I was going to put them together. Nothing from the library and Council on Aging, as I recall. I still don't have anything.
Okay. And the Regional School District Agreement Amendment Committee.
It meets on January 8th.
The middle school building committee met today.
We did, and we need to, the negotiating subcommittee of the middle school building committee meets this Thursday to resolve the contracts with Colliers and AI3, because they did the feasibility study, that ended, and now we actually are gonna build a new middle school building, and they need to start getting paid for the work they're doing on
We
the
would
phase
certainly
one.
hope.
So that meeting is, it's Mary Beth, Jeff, Don Essen, if you can come to the meeting, and me, are the subcommittee for negotiating the contracts. And Mike Carroll of Colliers, the OPM, will be the person that will be discussing the contracts with. The AI3 contract looks great. The OPM contract, I have some questions that Mike's gonna have to explain, but we'll get it resolved.
Very good. All right, and any questions for Kathleen related to any of those subcommittee reports? Public Works Department Building Committee did meet briefly. We're still awaiting our special legislation to get the contract fully funded and active. So there's supposed to be a subcommittee meeting with the contractor this week, another subcommittee to meet with them, to try to get an idea of when they want to start, because it's hugely important. If they're ready to start, we got to make way and get them in and get started, because if they're going to be delayed for whatever reason, I think there's going to be a cost. So I'll have more information when we meet again next week. Whitman Hanson Regional School District audit. Rosemary, you did mention something you want to speak to
Yes.
this issue.
So with the audit, one of the things that have been left off the audit are some of the administrative salaries. That's not part of the audit, and that's really important to look at the whole financial picture and how it's divvied up. So just quickly, a quick overview, and it's just like I said, a quick blast out of just pulling a couple. We're pretty low. We're playing very low for superintendents and those upper level salaries. So I kind of, it's a simple enough thing to add that to it if possible, or if it is a refusal, it's simple enough that maybe just a few, it's easy enough to call each town and get those numbers and sort of add that to the pile. So when we're reviewing it, we might have to sort of keep that in mind.
Okay.
Because you don't want to leave that out of that.
All right.
It's a data set that's going to affect the end.
I made a note of it, so we'll bring that up to Mary Beth. Anything else related to any of those outstanding old business items? Fiscal 25 year budget, Jill, just to let you know, the departments that we're meeting with in January have all been notified and have all accepted the meeting dates. So, let's see.
Looking for who's on this next?
Yeah, I got it right here.
So I cut it up. So the second, we have Sarasota Tech and the Board of Health. On the 9th, we have Recreation Library and Facilities Manager. On the 16th, Center of Aging, Technology and Accountant. And January 30th is the Town Admin and the Clerk.
So January 23rd, too, we did add the animal control and cable access. We didn't have anything there before.
Okay.
So we moved them up. So the last two of those have not been notified because we give them 30 days. So it's a little premature to notify for the January 23rd and January 30th, but we'll be sending those notices out. So everyone else has responded and can be here on the times that were specified for that. All right, so that brings us to the, any further updates on the fiscal 25 budget, like the questions. So we're gonna set up the meeting on the 2nd to get your budget questions answered. If you want to make some notes related to those documents that were distributed. Can I have mine back, by the way?
Oh, I thought it was for me.
No.
I circled 2025.
There's notes all over, Rick.
It's all right.
Are you saying that there's a joint meeting with the BOS on Saturday?
No, it hasn't been scheduled yet, that's a place
That's
center.
the plan.
6 o'clock, 6:30?
So
is there normal?
we're supposed to pick and choose from that slide what data we need to get. Why don't they just give us all the data that they use to compile that slide? Seems like, you know, how do you pick and choose when you just have a 2-page thing? It seems like a way to obfuscate and then go, guess what, we're not going to give you the data to sort of look into it. It's a 2 pages in a small graph. How do you even determine what data you're going to utilize to find out what's askew and how it was askew? You know what I mean?
Well, again, I don't think you should take too much stock in this. This is just one.
Oh, I won't. It doesn't
Right.
have, it has
So-
very little.
so like I said.
It was
It's preliminary, a good word, right here, preliminary.
I don't
Like that.
know if it's even preliminary, because I'm, like, it's something that should have been collaborated with the finance committee. What are we looking at? But either way, there's a real disconnect there. I had a question. Oh, wait till you get done with that.
We're on fiscal 25 budget, is related to that?
Oh, no, I mean, technically, but not really, but I'll wait.
Time's up. New business, go ahead.
New business, okay. Brownfields, have you heard anything about the Brownfields grants and other things as we move on to the DPW building, and we now have our zoning that has some brownfields in it, because we're handling a lot of the industrial. Has there been any updates? I mean, this isn't a new grant. It's not flashy new. It's been, Lisa Green was working on it years ago. This is something that should already be done, particularly because we had a hire come in because they were good with grants. It should have been off and running. And
So I did have a brief conversation with Mary Beth about that and after the DPW building committee, because that's something the DPW project is going to have to avail themselves to clean up the site. And so hopefully we are going to be able to use brownfield money. So I did have a brief conversation with her, but
So nothing's been filed for it, no application, nothing has been followed up with the work that Lisa Green has did prior to this? Nothing?
I don't know. I can't say that it hasn't. You can ask the question when she comes here.
Estimate?
Very good. All right, anybody else have anything on the new business? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
But before we do, I think we should say this is old business because there's an old member
Oh.
last night.
Yes.
Last meeting.
Oh,
So we just
yeah.
want to recognize Lucas.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it so much.
Yep, very good, and we appreciate all your input.
Remember us.
And for everyone else, before we do adjourn, I wish everybody a safe and happy holidays too. We won't be back until next year, so.
It's only next week, right?
It's not that long. All right, Lucas, best to you.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you guys.
Lucas. On that motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
We are out.